About 95% of your body's serotonin isn't made in your brain. It's made in your gut, by cells you've never heard of, working alongside trillions of bacteria that change what they're doing every time you have a stressful day. That's a real number from a 2025 review in the International Journal of Molecular Sciences. And it's the part of stress nobody talks about, the HPA axis. Hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal glands. When your brain registers a threat, real or imagined, this system fires. Cortisol gets released, heart rate goes up, blood sugar rises. You know that part. It's the part every wellness influencer mentions at some point between the cold plunge and the ashwagandha. What they don't get to is where cortisol goes next. It travels through your bloodstream and reaches your gut. And it doesn't just pass through. A 2023 review in Frontiers in Endocrinology mapped this out. Cortisol changes which bacterial species thrive. It affects how tightly your intestinal cells are bonded together. It shifts the chemistry of the entire ecosystem. Those gut bacteria send signals back. Through the vagus nerve, through immune messengers, through chemicals they make from the food you eat. And those signals shape how your brain responds to the next stressful thing. Stress changes your gut. Gut changes how you handle stress. It's a loop, and it has a name nobody uses yet. Call it the gut stress axis. When cortisol reaches your intestines, it does something specific to the cells lining your gut wall. A 2022 review in Trends in Endocrinology and Metabolism identified psychological stress as one of the primary factors that disrupts gut barrier integrity. The tight junctions between intestinal cells start to loosen. Things that should stay in your gut start showing up in your bloodstream. Bacterial fragments, inflammatory molecules, stuff your immune system has to deal with. Your immune system then goes on alert. Low-grade inflammation rises, and that inflammation reaches your brain. This is one of the mechanisms behind that wired but tired feeling. The brain fog after a stressful week. The way chronic stress eventually starts feeling physical, not just emotional. It's not in your head. It's in the connection between your gut and your head. And if you've ever noticed you get sick the weekend after a hard week ends instead of during it, that's your immune system catching up on the inflammation backlog. The timing tells you the mechanism. The other direction of the loop runs through the vagus nerve. About 90 to 95% of your serotonin is produced in the gut by enterochromaffin cells. The 2025 review I mentioned earlier laid out exactly how this works. Those cells release serotonin, which activates fibers of the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve carries that signal up to a brainstem region called the nucleus tractus solitarius. From there, it influences serotonergic and norepinephrinergic neurons. The same systems involved in mood, attention, and stress response. That serotonin in your gut is doing work. It's part of a continuous conversation between your microbiome and your brain. And gut bacteria help decide how much gets produced. A 2022 randomized controlled trial published in Gut Microbes tested this directly. 92 healthy adults, 4 weeks, a strain of Lactobacillus paracasei versus placebo. Then they were put through a public speaking stress test, the kind that reliably spikes cortisol. The probiotic group prevented the stress-induced increase in intestinal permeability that the placebo group experienced. Subjective stress scores went down, and the effect was strongest in people who had the highest cortisol response to the stressor. That's a human trial. Healthy people. A specific bacterial strain. A measurable effect on the gut barrier under stress, which is more than most wellness supplements ever bother to produce. Another study, also 2022, in nutrients, 22 adults, a probiotic mixture versus placebo. They put participants in an fMRI machine while doing a stress task, the Montreal Imaging Stress Task, which is exactly as fun as it sounds. The probiotic intervention changed brain activity in regions that regulate emotion. Less activation in the lateral orbital and ventral cingulate gyri. Different functional connectivity patterns. Their brains process stress differently after 4 weeks of probiotics. A caveat on what these studies cover is that they're mechanism findings in healthy volunteers, not stress treatments. Individual response varies. What they do show is that specific bacterial strains in human trials measurably affected how the body and brain handle stress. That's already a big deal. Most people are walking around assuming their gut and their brain are separate problems. Your gut bacteria don't help you make serotonin out of nothing. They need raw materials. They feed on prebiotic fibers, especially soluble fibers like inulin. And when they ferment those fibers, they produce short-chain fatty acids. Those fatty acids do two important things. They support the integrity of your gut barrier, which is the part stress is trying to compromise, and they enhance vagal nerve activity, which improves the gut-to-brain signal. So if you want to support the gut side of the gut-stress axis, the playbook isn't complicated. Feed the bacteria that produce the right signals. Avoid the things that consistently dysregulate the population. Sleep, fiber diversity, time outside, real food. The basics that everyone knows and nobody does. Which brings me to a natural product I think is worth knowing about. It contains Lactobacillus paracasei, which is the strain in that 2022 stress trial I walked through. Plus, Bifidobacterium lactis, in the same family as the strain in the night shift cortisol research I haven't even covered yet in this video. Plus also inulin, to feed them. It's specifically built around the gut-brain axis end of this. I've linked it in the description below if you decide to check it out. The reason this matters is that we've been sold the idea that stress management is a brain problem. Meditate more, think differently, manage your mindset. And those things help. They work on half of a two-part system. The gut half has been hiding in plain sight. Trillions of bacteria, signaling constantly, shaping how your brain responds to whatever you face today. They get a vote. And what you feed them, how you sleep, whether you protect your gut barrier from chronic stress damage, those decisions cast that vote in one direction or the other. Quick reminder, this is not medical advice, and you should always consult a doctor if you have any underlying medical conditions. Your microbiome is part of your stress response. Treating it like it isn't has been the gap in mainstream stress advice for the last decade. If this was helpful, check the description for the reference studies and share this info with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe for more science-backed health tips.